Time to time, I'm browsing Facebook, and I'm a member of a number of groups on Facebook, and one of which is the group that has a bunch of homeowners in it that ask questions about their houses. So this question got asked in the group, and I want to answer it. But first, this intro. Alright, the question that was asked in the group. Let's build a starter list of needed fundamental DIY home repair tools. Have countless tools needed for car repair, but few for our home. Now, this is not technically a question, but you get the idea of what I'm getting at. I have on the Robinson Handy and Technology Services website, rhtservices.net, is a recommended tools page or a uses page. And here I have divided things out by Handyman Tools and Technology Tools. Since we are talking about home ownership and the things that are necessary or the ideal tools that you have to fix anything at home, we will cover the Handyman Tools section. Now, this is not a full list of everything ideally that you would have, but this is, my opinion, the recommended minimum things that you would need to have if you wanted to fix things on or at your house. All right. So the first things first, a hammer. Like, you never know when you need a hammer, but oftentimes you're going to want to hang a picture, or you're going to have a situation where a nail backs out when houses move, foundation, temperature changes, and so forth. Every now and then you may get a nail pop. And what a nail pop is basically the nail that holds your drywall up pops out. Now, it doesn't necessarily pop all the way out, but it does pop enough that you can see that it has popped. And so the easiest way of correcting that is to nail it back in. Same scenario when, let's say, you need to remove the trim around your door frame. The trim has nails attached. The trim has nails in it to attach it to the wall and the door jamb. So if you remove it, you will need to hammer those back in. Thus, you will need a hammer. Next, I recommend that you have a screwdriver set with a minimum of a Phillips head and a flathead. Now, for those of you watching that are not in the United States, Phillips head and flatheads are the most common type of screws that we have here in the United States. I know the people in Canada are probably rolling their heads like, what do you mean you need a Phillips head and flathead? That's what's common here. Now in Canada, from what I understand from some of the other handyman groups that I'm in, you're more likely to use a Robertson screw. And the difference between these screws are fairly significant. So a Phillips head screw has the head on it is a plus sign. Probably seen this type of screw before. A flathead is a single line. Now, if you have a flathead screwdriver, depending on how that Phillips head is designed, you in some cases can use a flathead screwdriver on a Phillips head screw. You cannot use a Phillips head screwdriver on a flathead because of how it's designed. A Robertson screw is a square head design. If you try and have the appropriate size Phillips head screw, you can use a Phillips head screwdriver on a Robertson head screw. Although I do not recommend that because they don't actually really fit, because one is a square, one is a plus. And yes, you can turn that plus head to fit into the square, but again, you have to have the matching size in order to actually for that to work. One thing that I do not have here listed that I will probably get added to this list is to also have a Torx head screwdriver. Now, what is a Torx head? It looks more like a star bit. It has, I believe, 6 points on it, and they come in various sizes. So you have the most common that I've seen is a T20, but then you also have a T25, and the numbers range, I believe, from like a T5 to like a T50. So I do not necessarily think that you need to have that many sizes, but the T20 to T25 is the most common size from my experience. So you could have one of those as a third option if you ever were to encounter it. Next, I will recommend that you have Tongan groove pliers. Now, a Tongan groove pliers come very handy, in particular when let's say you need to go turn off the water to a device. For instance, a washing machine. I remember one year back in college, we were washing clothes and something happened where we could not get the water somehow got turned off. I think we had the maintenance crew over to fix something, and they turned the water off in the process and didn't turn it back on. So here we are, Christmas Eve, like 6, 7 o'clock. And for those of you, at least at that point in time, everything closed on Christmas Eve. I know things have changed since then, but everything was closing. It was like Walmart even closed at 8 o'clock. So we was like, I guess we need to go to Walmart really quick to get a pair of pliers. And so we had to go get the pair of pliers so that we could turn the valve on the washing machine inlet. So that is helpful in that case. Also, the Tongan groove pliers are adjustable. So when, let's say, your bolt is this big, well, you can adjust your Tongan groove pliers to that size. But if you have something this big, you can adjust it to that size as well. So that's the benefit of having Tongan groove pliers. They're adjustable. They essentially function as multiple tools based upon their sizes that can do the multiple size pliers that can do the job of a single tool. So those are the 3 things that I would recommend for a basic homeowner to have in their toolbox. Now, there are other tools that I have in my toolbox as a handyman that include a circular saw, drill, impact driver, mower, several other saws, a socket wrenching set, and a weed trimmer. Now, my experience, if you're putting together furniture, you could probably have a socket wrenching set. It would not hurt. The question that you'll probably get asked, standard or metric, or imperial or metric? It depends. I can't really say one is better than the other. I would say from my experience though, I have a tendency to use more of my metric socket set than I do my US or imperial or standard socket set, as it's also referred as. And the reason being is because most of the time when I'm grabbing something, I'm going to grab the metric set first, because the vehicles that I have, again, this is speaking from the United States perspective, the vehicles are built with metric screwdrivers and so forth. And the furniture, because it comes from other countries that I assemble, more than likely are going to have metric sizes. So some of the furniture I've put together has come from like Vietnam or Japan or something like that nature. And so when that's all they have there is metric. They don't have the 2 standards of measurements, US and metric. They just have metric. So more than likely, I would say if you're going to be buying a lot of furniture or just anything in general that is more than likely not made in the US, a metric set, if you were to get a socket set, would benefit you better than a standard set. Now there is a conversion between, if you did not want to buy 2 sets of sockets, there is a way to convert a metric socket size to a standard socket size. But just note that even if you do that conversion, those sizes may still vary because, or like there may be still some looseness in there. Like when you go to tighten it, it may actually have a little play in the tightening process or loosening process because it's not an exact match. So just keep that in mind. So that will recap the tools that I recommend that homeowners have in their toolbox. Again, you don't have to get all of these, and yes, you can have more of these, but in an ideal scenario, if you're going to need to fix stuff around your house and not want to have to call a professional every time you need to do something, these few tools will get you out of that bind that you may be in. All right, comments, questions, please drop those down below, and thank you for watching.